This is Arts Alive. I'm Lynda Phillippi, and my guest today is Janmarie Dielschneider, and she's an attorney here in town. She's also a writer and a comedian. So, welcome.
Welcome. I'm just thrilled to be here.
And I know it's been several months since we've actually seen each other, and I guess the time is right, huh?
Yes. All things happen for a good purpose.
That's right.
Because I'm a Seroptimus member, and you were lovely enough to come join our luncheon and be our keynote speaker, and you are just a bottle rocket of energy and the volunteer vortex and funny as a hoot, and I related. So
that's right. And then afterwards you said, shoot, I should be on your show.
That's right. And so you were kind enough to follow up, and why, here I am.
So, Janmarie, let's talk a little bit first before we launch into your artistic career. Let's talk a little bit about you and sort of your background and your profession and who you are and what you do.
Well, I grew up with my hero, Perry Mason, and his ever-loving Della Street, and Paul Drake, his investigator.
See, I was a Paul Drake fan.
He was handsome,
Oh,
absolutely. But I love Della Street too, because Perry would be nothing without Della, to just magically always make it happen.
Exactly.
And so I decided, by golly, that's who I want to be, because he's the right guy, he's an honorable guy, the right thing happens. And by golly, then I found out the hard way that criminal cases don't wrap up in 50 minutes and a handful of commercials. And I thought, well, ratty-dad-dats, because somebody always breaks down and admits guilt, the appropriate party at exactly 10 minutes to 1.
Exactly.
And I can tell you without doubt that despite what you see on TV, there are not a bunch of Armani suits running around, makeup check, and it works out as it's supposed to be timely. The wheels of justice do indeed grind very slowly over all of us.
I always loved Perry Mason, and then when I met my husband, he kind of turned me on to Boston Legal.
Oh, that was a good one too. I love it.
That show was so darn funny. I mean, William Shatner, let's face it.
Oh, yeah.
But also
David Spade, or Spader, yeah.
Yeah, Alan Shore, and his long-winded, cockamamie.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you call it? The summary? Is that what you call it?
Yes, right. The summations.
Summations, yes, exactly. So what kind of law do you practice?
Well, I set out and am still in criminal law. And so I started out with the full intent of being a lifetime prosecutor. So I did start out as a prosecutor in this very county when John Collins, our current presiding judge, was the district attorney at the time. So that's, older than dirt in legal community terms. And have enjoyed every moment of it. And then I went away, marrying the man of my dreams, and then was a prosecutor in Deschutes County, because I'd grown up east of the Cascades, cattle, wheat, ranch, farming, all that kind of fun stuff, rodeos, yeehaw! And then my beloved, dirty rat, decided to trade me in for a younger model, and suddenly I found myself in a town that wasn't big enough for the two of us. So I said, c'est la vie to my prosecution career, and I came back here to McMinnville, where I had begun, and was welcomed with open arms by our wonderful legal community. And but I had to go to work for, as they say, the dark side, defending the great unwashed. But no, really, I mean, many of my clients are very good people, but you kind of have to have a little humor in there, because unlike what you see on TV, there are heartbreaking stories every day, and if you don't have, in my opinion, a wicked sense of humor, you're just going to get absolutely crushed by the fact that you don't win all your cases, and all your clients aren't wonderful and pretty, and many times you get stiffed if you're asking them to pay you, and then as a public defender, much to my mother's chagrin, when you figure out the hours you work and what you get paid and your overhead, it's like less than minimum wage, without a tip, really, ouch. But I guess the corporate life and $450 an hour just is going to be in my next life with thin thighs and a huge trust fund after I've done this poor chubby thing here, trying to practice law.
And you know what I bet? I bet you don't have Della Street either, do you?
No, actually, I do.
Do you have
And
Della?
I do. I have my very own Della. I have a wonderful part-time secretary. I wish I could have her all the time, but I have her part-time. But she is dynamite, comes in small packages, and I, honest to goodness, could not. I don't think any lawyer worth their salt could do well without their support staff. And so she never lets me forget it, and I just do whatever she tells me because I fear her like some of my clients do their probation officers. So,
Oh, cool.
yes, and so she is a skinny little thing that's had 5 children and lives off Twinkies and coffee and cigarettes and manages to get it all done and magically have it happen. So,
Awesome.
Yes, I do.
So now, when did you start writing and when did you start doing comedy?
I've been doing it over the years, and it's like you were speaking one of your prior sessions about an artist or writer, they don't think it's, well, I don't know, is it very good? Do I really want to share it? And then I decided to join Toastmasters. And Toastmasters was a nice, safe place where you can go and practice your shtick, tell them your funny story and get some honest feedback on how to be a better speaker. And because you have people there that are from all walks of life doing all kinds of things, and they count your ums and your uhs, and they tell you if you're doing some sort of wiggly thing up there you don't know you're doing. And so it really benefited me in a lot of ways because it made me a better attorney, because you can learn a lot in law school and you can learn a lot when they shove you out the deep end of the pool. Here's your first case, good luck, without water wings, no less. But then as time has gone by, now I'm 52, fat and sassy, and I've been doing this job for 20-some years, and then you get a little bit more sage and learn about it. And so now I'm here doing public defense work. And near and dear to my heart are the juvenile cases, delinquency and dependency. And so I have worked very hard over the years for that, and it takes, I think, you really have to do that from the heart because those can be very sad cases.
So do you gear any of your writing toward juveniles at all?
Well, what I do is I am a true believer that the funniest things in life are things that actually happened. You can't make this up. I mean, anybody with any kind of crazy family, which mine was, putting the fun back into dysfunction, you can look back at it later, and dress it up with a lot of, bling and costume jewelry, what I call be liberal with your description to protect the guilty, and then write the story, and people will laugh because, if it comes from your heart and it's embellished properly, it is absolute hysteria.
Now, I have a question for you. Do you know who Jerry Clower is? Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Well, he's a Southern humorist, and he was from Yazoo City, Mississippi. Okay, so my mom's from Arkansas, so the whole Southern humor thing. Well, apparently my grandfather was the one who turned my father onto Jerry Clower. So we just grew up listening to Jerry Clower's humor, and he's the same kind of thing. He's Southern man, never uses a swear word, never says anything about anything risque or improper, but just tells these stories, and they're
Right.
so darn funny. And one of the reasons when I met my current and favorite husband, how I knew that he was going to be, my next and possibly favorite husband, is I said something. I said some kind of a Jerry Clower punchline, or he did, and I was like, "Wait, you like Jerry Clower? Nobody even knows Jerry Clower." And from that
He's a
moment,
keeper.
I knew he's a keeper. It's meant to be. So
Yep.
I think humor can really reach across. But I mean, and not to say that all kinds of humor obviously can be funny, but I think the best humor is something that a little kid can hear, grandma can hear,
Right.
and it's completely just human and transcendent, and it speaks to
Absolutely.
the human condition.
Absolutely. And so that is, in essence, so I'm writing this book, and it's called Recipes for a Life Less Ordinary. And of course, I tell everybody I know all the time I'm writing this book, and it's called Recipes for a Life Less Ordinary. And they keep saying, well, when is it coming out? When is it coming out? And I'm really hoping this year, around Christmas time, please God, that it will be actually ready to go and self-publish and put it out there.
Great.
And so this particular book is filled with short stories of real life things that happened, holiday horror stories, Friday the 13th, Bruiser's Moving Service, We Guarantee Nothing, back in the days when you're young and you think you can lift anything, and somebody has a van and a truck, and you're in that, everybody's sort of flexible mode, and so you just, move in one afternoon with a six-pack and a pizza, and there you are, and then you get older and you can't anymore. So, and just things that happened growing up, all kinds of stuff. They really are, in my opinion, and others as well, funny. And so each short story then is separated with a recipe, but a hysterical recipe, like Knock You Naked margaritas, monkey butt biscuits, funeral chicken, Death Con 4 casserole, something like that. So it's not really a cookbook, but it's a way of expressing sort of the arc of my life from younger years to now in humorous segments. And then I'm working on a second book that's going to be the Miss Magnolia series, and Miss Magnolia is a true Southern belle that cannot figure out for the life of her how she ended up this far west of the Mason-Dixon line in a small county much like ours, but called Clinton County, Washington, in a courthouse much like ours, with repeat characters much like ours. And so those out there will know that the guilty will be punished, and those that have been used their powers only for good will come out great. And so I really see this as being, a bestseller. I really do, and made for movies, because you put it out to the universe. Think big. Why go small? I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be just there on Rodeo Drive in no time at all. And so I'm following in the footsteps of John Grisham, where I expect that each one of my novels will be a $1 million seller, movie to follow.
I like it.
Yes, and so then if you were one of the people in my life that used your powers for good and not evil, you get to choose who your character will be.
Ooh,
yes,
okay.
And so Miss Magnolia can be described as sort of a younger Bette Midler with that, wonderful red curly hair and little petite thing, and wearing stiletto shoes, and always, just really nice tailored suits and a fedora, and a bright red briefcase, and she gets it done. She gets it done.
I remember when I was a teenager. I must have been 12 or 13 years old. And we were at my aunt and uncle's house, and Bette Midler there was a show on TV. I don't know what the show was. But, back in those days, girls were pretty innocent. Well, Bette Midler was wearing like a lavender and black lace corset, very push-up, okay, and black fishnets and black high heels and some kind of a little number on her head. And she was kind of straddling the microphone. And she was singing, and I thought, I want to do that. And my mother was like, go to bed.
Exactly. I'm like, not unless I have the body for it.
And I still remember that, though. I thought, oh, man, that looks like that'd be a fun career.
Yeah. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed it. And so the Miss Magnolia series has to do with every one of my jury trials that I've
perfect.
had.
Okay.
And sort of, that way it's not just, someone dead falls out of the janitorial closet and there's, some, gratuitous sex on the side, but it's the funny stuff, that people who don't know where a courthouse is, and that's a good thing, but would benefit them to come down some time and listen to my clientele, at probation violation hearings in particular, suddenly they found God and Amazing Grace is playing softly in the background, and by God, they're going to go out there and do better. And, some of them make it, and then some of them are my very favorite frequent flyers.